Hello and welcome to Practical Sheets, where today you're going to find the second lesson, the complete query course in Practical Sheet. Today we're going to see the where clause and how to filter a table by conditions using this very powerful function called query. So I invite you to the past lesson where we talked about the basics of the query function and the select clause. Today we're going to go one step further and talk about the where clause, how to do it for numeric conditions, text conditions, and much more. I know you're going to love it, so before diving into it, I invite you to subscribe to the channel and to go to the Patreon page where you can find these videos in advance and furthermore, the templates and the codes to all the videos you'll find in the channel. So thank you again, and let's go on with the lesson. Before starting with the where clause, we're going to recap what we saw in the first lesson. So we saw the basic structure of query. We have a Google table in the first tab. We're going to see the second tab. What we're going to do here is call our query function and start in A1, go up to I1 and then to I1001. And this is the data source. Then we're going to press comma and we're going to start our command line. This is the text where we're going to say to query what do we want it to do. This is where all the magic and the complexities of queries start to happen. So I'll write select in uppercase. Actually, this part of the query function is not case sensitive. I could put it in uppercase or lowercase, but it's a good practice to leave it uppercase. And then if I want all the columns, I'll just write an asterisk. But if I want specific columns, for example, I want the name, the first name, the last name, the product, and the email, and the amount. So I will write A in caps. This is case sensitive. A, actually it's B, C, E, comma, F. And that's it. I'll hit enter and I'll bring just these 4 columns in the order I want. I have a third argument in the query function that many times it's not necessary. Okay, so today we're going to see the second clause, and it's the clause where. And where acts as a filter. I think we're going to have in the future many functions with the where clause, because here is where we can do a lot of things. For now, we're going to see the basic cases, and is basically we can have some conditions. It's like an if function or a filter function where I can give some conditions to tell the query function what data I want to show. The most basic condition is something that will always be true. So I could say, for example, 1 equals 1. This is always true. So this is as if I were not saying anything, just show me everything, okay? 1 equals 1. So this is just an extreme example that we can see in the future. But for now, normally, what I'm going to say to the where function is a column, then an operator, that it could be an equal sign, a different sign, an exclamation, an equal that means different, less than, greater than, less or equal than, greater than. Let's start with numeric functions. So then we can see text functions in detail. But for now, we could, for example, say that, but I'm going to add another column here that is quantity. And let's just put a random between 1 and 10. And I'm going to autofill, and that's it. Here, my query, I'm going to take it not up to I, but J. And I'm going to select not only F, but also J. So I have my quantity. And I'm going to say where J equals 1. So here you can see that my query is bringing me only the rows where the column E, that is the quantity, equals to 1. And I could change this to 2 or to 3 to whatever. But I could also do a greater than or a less than. I could say greater than J is greater than 2. So I can see 3, 4, 6, 3, 10, or less than 2. And I'm bringing just 1. But if I say less or equal than 2, I bring everything 1 and 2. Or I can say greater than or equal than 2. Okay, so I bring 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7. Okay, so these are the numeric functions. The final one regarding numeric values is different than. So I can say different than 2. So I have 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, anything but 2. Finally, this is regarding numeric. So I have equals, greater than, greater or equal than, less or equal than, or different than. I could have two numeric conditions. That is, I could, for example, want everything between 3 and 5. So I could say j will be greater or equal than 2. And here is when I can use this and clause. Again, this doesn't matter if it's lower or uppercase. And then I can say j is also less or equal than 4. So I could have and conditions or conditions that we'll see it in other videos. So here, the and means that I have to comply with these two functions, that this must be true and this must be true. Okay, so this is regarding numbers. I'm going to leave this as an example. I'm going to put this as a number condition, numeric condition. And let's duplicate this. And we're going to have this as a text condition. Text condition has enough material for another complete lesson, so I'm just going to give you the basics. I'm going to remove these conditions I had here, and I'm going to add a text condition. For example, I only want when the names are Andres. So I'm going to say where A is equal to, and here, when I'm talking about text, I'm going to put simple quotations, and I'm going to say that it should be equal to Andres. It was not A, because in my source, the name was in the column B. Even if here I have it in my column A, in my query, the name in my original data, the name was in the B. So I should say that B is equal Andres. Okay? So these are the text conditions. I could also say that B is not equal to Andres. So bring me everything but what says Andres. Okay? And I could also have connector conditions. I could say and B is not Andres and C is equals to, here for example, Edgerton. In simple quotations, Edgerton. That's it. So I'm bringing everything that doesn't say Andres in column B and says Edgerton in column C. Okay, so I can do chains of conditions. Finally, I could, for example, want, let's remove this Edgerton and remove this Andres. I could say, for example, that I want everything that says Andres and everything that says Samantha. So here is where I'm going to use my OR condition. So I can say where B is equal to, in simple quotations, Andres. Here, this has to be case sensitive, okay? Or here is where I use my OR condition, or B is equal to or equals to Samantha. So here I can have multiple conditions in the same column. We're going to see advanced text conditions in a further lessons. But for now, I just wanted to show you the basics of the where function. That when we connect select to where, we have a very advanced, we can start to fathom the real power of query. One last thing we want to tell you is that there is an order between the conditions. First, I need the select and then I need the where. I cannot have the select after the where. But what I can do in this specific case of select and where is that I can remove the select and just leave the where. If I do this, then it's like how I was saying to the query that select every column. So I'm showing every column, but I'm respecting these two conditions, the conditions of the where. So I don't need to have select to have where. But when I start having select and where is when I start to do a really powerful query function. Okay, we have a lot to go. When in the next lesson, we're going to see the order by function. That I think this is the big three of the query. There are other that are not so used, but with select, where, and order by, we have a very powerful filtering function in the query one. Okay, and we're just starting. So I hope you like it, and I know you like more the lessons that are to come when we start to get a bit more advanced. We're going baby steps. So thank you so much. And if you like what you see, then you can support me in my YouTube channel by subscribing and by hitting the notification button so you can see when the next lesson appears, hopefully very soon. where we're going to see the order by clause, then the limit one, and then there are things if you are not an advanced user, you are not going to imagine what we can do with this query. And if you want to support me even further, you can go to the Patreon page, where you can not only have access to the lessons in advance, but where you can download the templates and you don't have to copy manually the codes, the formulas, and when we talk about Google Apps Script, all the code and all that. So thank you again. See you next time.